Good evening, everybody, and welcome. We're going to be going at 8 p.m. Sydney time. So we're just a few minutes away from that time. So just bear with me while we get to that time and then we'll get going. Thank you very much. For those that may be jumping on board on YouTube, you're a little bit delayed. I'm not able to see the chat on YouTube. So if you want to chat to me as we go through the webinar, you'll need to register at the website and jump on board into the Zoom webinar itself. Okay. All right, so we're going to get going at 8 o'clock Sydney time. And we're just about 2.5 minutes away from that time. For those just coming to the room, we're going to be getting going very shortly. Within the next minute, I'm just setting up. For those that are watching on YouTube, if you're catching a live stream on YouTube, unfortunately, I'm not able to answer your questions because I can't monitor two chat boxes at the same time. But if you want to ask me questions, then just go to the website and log into the webinar itself from the website, and I'll be able to answer your questions if you do that. All right, just before we get going, just for those people on YouTube, I just wanted to go and show you that you can, if you want to, log in via our website. So if you go to acy.com, education webinars, and then scroll down to the first webinar here and register, then you'll be able to log into our Zoom webinar account, and you should then be able to ask questions. If you're just on YouTube itself, watching via streaming, unfortunately, I won't be able to answer your questions, but you can come to the website and log in. All right. Okay, for everybody else that's in the live webinar, welcome to this evening's ACY Securities webinar. My name is Duncan Cooper. Thanks very much for attending. And before we move along, if you could just read through the risk disclaimer, that would be great. Now, as we're going through the webinar, if you have any questions, just type them into the Q&A box. I've got the chat box open as well, but if you put the questions in the question box, that's always helpful for me. Okay. If you don't know me, I'm your host, Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor at ACY Securities. And I'm a full-time Forex trader. I've been trading for more than 15 years and had the opportunity of mentoring clients during the last 10 years. If you need to contact us regarding the webinar, you can email education@acy.com. If you want to follow me at the website, acy.com, go to the market news tab, you'll find my analysis there. And my video analysis can be found at the YouTube ACY Securities Australia channel. And if you want to follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn, those are my handles just there. Okay, so tonight I'm going to be doing a live market analysis webinar. And my analysis is really based around all the things that I've been teaching the attendees at the beginner webinar series. So I'm going to be covering this evening support and resistance, market trend lines, pivot points, the figure Fibonacci in my analysis. MACD as well. I'll be discussing average true range. And if there's any setups, I might be highlighting some immediate setups or highlighting some that have already occurred during the day. I will be doing some support and resistance zoning that we covered last night in yesterday's webinar. Coming up tomorrow at 8 p.m. Sydney time, in tomorrow's webinar, I'll be going through the trade setup called Swing Point Break. So if you've got the time, just register for the webinar at the website, and that will be kicking off at 8 o'clock Sydney time. And then next week, we're going through the trade setup called Limit Order and a Support or Resistance Zone. So that's what's coming up. Tonight, we're going to go through the market. So I'm going to bring up my charts. And just looking at the people on tonight, I think everybody's had the opportunity to see my charts before. But if you haven't, I'll give you access to a link that you can download my charts. So I'll just do that now so I don't forget. I'll put that in the chat. So if you haven't downloaded my charts or upgraded and you want to, you can just go and download the file that I've just put in the chat. That file looks like this file just here. It's an MT4 file. Just having a few problems with my PowerPoint here at the moment. Just bear with me a moment. I'm going to close my PowerPoint down. Here we go. So this file, if you just double click on it, it will open up on my other screen. And within it, there are some folders. These just need to be moved to the MT4 platform program folder. There's a video in here that you can play. And I'll be showing you how to just do the upgrade. It takes 2 minutes. So if you want to avail yourself of that upgrade, just use the link that I've given you. All right, let's get into the charts. Okay, this evening I'm just going to go through some of the pairs that I'm watching. And just before we do, I just want to make you aware that every day I'm looking at what news announcements are coming out. I like to use forexfactory.com. So the address is in the bar at the top here. It's just forexfactory.com. And once you're there, if you click on a little more here, it will show you what's coming out for the week. And today there is at 10:30 p.m. some US news coming out that can impact the market. CPI data for the US. In the morning, we have the FOMC meeting minutes coming out 4 o'clock in the morning my time. So these times are my time, Queensland time. And a little bit later into Thursday as well, some more US news, 10:30 p.m. my time. So the ones that I'm showing you, and there's more on Friday, the core retail sales and retail sales for the US. So if you go to this web page, all these red items for the US have a definite chance of moving the market one way or the other. And the market is probably waiting for this evening's news coming out. So bear that very much in mind at 10:30 p.m. my time tonight. All right, so with that in mind, let's have a look through the charts. I'm going to start from the left, start with the Aussie Yen. And I'm just going to show you the Aussie Yen. You can see this has been moving up in the day chart quite aggressively over the last 2 or 3 days. Same with the Euro Yen. So these are pairs to the yen. We've had an aggressive move up. On the pound yen day chart as well, aggressive move up. So pairs to the yen, they've all been moving up. This is the New Zealand yen day chart moving up aggressively. And as well, the dollar yen is the day chart. This has been moving up aggressively. Now, I don't know how far these pairs to the end can continue moving up before they have a pullback. Yes, they're in an uptrend, but you don't want to be a buyer at the top of a move before it has a correction. Of, it could pull back 1 or 2 days before it reasserts the trend. So I'm not wanting myself to get caught at the top of the last, 3 or 4 or 5 day moves up. And some of these pairs are at resistance as well. So with that in mind, there's no doubt where the trend is right this minute, but it's just a question of where do you really want to be getting in? At the top of the current run? Probably not. So we'll start with this dollar yen, because this has been one of the most stronger trending pairs. It's going to go to the monthly chart. And we've got some high points coming up. Price keeps moving up. First one on the monthly chart is at 114.54.4. I haven't put a line in there because there's some weekly levels ahead of that level. But if you drop down to your monthly, we are getting up to some critical levels of resistance that the market might want to hold at and reverse. See down here, we put in a significant low point. And when we retested once, twice, we wanted to move back up from a critical level of support. So we're heading into critical level of resistance potentially, and that could well hold and the market could well pull back. So just be aware of what's ahead of the market as price, if it does continue to move up. All right, that being said, let's get to the weekly chart. I've got some lines in here from the weekly chart. Put this level in here at 112.62. This is a broken level of weekly resistance. That could be support if we pull back. So if we pull back to that level and hold, that's a level I'm watching for support for the market for a move back up if it pulls back. At the moment, further ahead up here at 114.20, that's a level of strong resistance that if the market gets to, it could reverse back down. So theoretically, get up to that level and then reverse back down to the support level. Currently, we're testing a level of resistance from the day chart. If I go down the day chart, we can't see this area. So I've already marked it in. It's at 113.71. So I've actually squashed the chart in. Sometimes you have to hit the minus button on the toolbar and squash things in so you can see where levels of resistance or support might be. So over here, that's the daily level that we actually held at yesterday. Now, if you didn't squash the chart in, you wouldn't know it was there. But if you bought at that level, price has been pulling back since then. So you don't want to buy into resistance. So you have to do the work. Sometimes you have to squash a chart in. All right, so there's a daily look. This is clearly higher top, higher bottom, 3, 4, or 5 days up here into daily resistance at the moment. Just watching to see if we can have a pullback at the moment to support from the weekly chart. If that can hold, then looking for an opportunity to buy, moving back up from that level. For our chart at the moment, now see this significant move up here. Then we get across down to the MACD, and then we get a pullback. Well, we're getting across down the MACD now, so I'm anticipating this may well pull back. There's my weekly level of support at 112.62. So I'm anticipating this might pull back in the short term, but it's a clear day, strong trend up. So I'm not going to be looking to sell, but I'm just watching to see if we get a bit of a healthy pullback so we can position ourselves for the next move up within the trend. Okay, so not looking at anything to do at the moment. If we drop it to the 15-minute and you want it to be active, day chart trend is up. We have already come below the central pivot, back above it, and the trade set up the trend line break at a pivot point. We've had a trend line break here, back above up here. We've had a trend line break. When we started to get support through here at the central pivot point, we had another trend line break up through here, where you could have been looking to initiate a trade. And if you did, that trade would be up about 10 pips at the moment. But, you know, you can see this daily level of resistance. Yesterday, quite, you know, got there, held quite convincingly. 1, 2, 3, 4 tests at that level before pulling back. So for me, it's not in an area where I'd like to negotiate a trade, but quite clear we're getting support at the central pivot point today, and it may well come back up and retest that resistance level. All right, but long term, I'm just waiting for a pullback to about the 112.62 area, and then I'm going to see what price does there. If it holds, looking for a trade to trade up. All right, get into another yen pair, Aussie Yen. I want to turn this into the monthly chart. And there's a high point here at 83.894 that we've tested this week. So we try to move above it for many months here, fell below it. And we're coming up for another test. Is it at a critical level of resistance that the market wants to hold at and trade down from? Now the trend on the monthly is quite clearly up. High bottom, higher top, another higher bottom. MACD, when it was down here last month, almost crossed down. So this is maybe getting ready to cross down. If it does, that's going to maybe signal a change in trend. But at the moment, we're just trading up into it in a trend, testing resistance on the monthly chart. That monthly level is over here. I've just readjusted this line just a little bit. Let me just double check. Well, that's 83.89. I haven't actually adjusted it. That's the monthly level of resistance. And there's a weekly level fractionally above there. So we've got weekly resistance and monthly resistance pretty much at the same level. And we're coming up this week to test this area that we broke below, came back up, became resistance on 1, 2, 3 candles, and we moved down. So this is a very well-known area of resistance that's formed. This weekly trend is up as well, in line with the monthly. And on the daily, we've had this massive upward move to the area. Now, whilst this isn't an uptrend, this is an area where we could see a change in trend. So I've got two areas that I'm watching. If actually price got up to this area and quite clearly held, then I might look for an opportunity to sell down because it's an area that's known resistance. So I've got two areas up here, potentially an area to sell down from. Down here, where we've broken through this whole resistance top, this is an area where if we pull back to and it holds, we're looking at that level to trade up from at 82.01. So pretty much the 82 level. This is 83.89. So 82 support and approximately 84 could be resistance. So I'm watching those two levels. What would give me some encouragement to sell from up here? Moving to the 4-hour chart, we've already crossed down here on the MACD. We've still got higher bottom, higher top, another higher bottom. But if we had a first, maybe a final spike up and rejection, and we move down over the next few days, and want to have a rally up to a lower, put in a lower top. If we start to form a lower top, then I'm beginning excited about looking for an opportunity to sell, trading back down 82, and then see whether 82 holds for support. Another way price could do its thing up here is it could just simply, where it is right now, trade down, break a low point, change the trend, come up for a rally, and then put in a lower top. All right. Now I'm very aware that the trend is up on the day chart at the moment, so I'd really need to see some good, solid looking price action, very clear that a trend on the 4-hour chart was reversing. At the moment, it's not reversing at the moment in terms of price action. I can see a cross down. So that might be the first sign that we might get a change over the next, day and a half. So I'm watching those two levels. Currently, I know the trend is up. And earlier in the day, knowing the trend is up, very simple trend line break. Support at a pivot, day chart trend is up. Trend line break through here. It's up 30 pips on the break of that trend line. Can't go back in time to take that trade, it's too late. But if you were around here earlier in the day, there was a trade to trade up in line with the day chart trend. All right, getting into the Aussie dollar. Now, Aussie dollar is a little bit different to the Aussie yen. Usually their trends are very similar. And yes, they have been moving down over the last few months before putting in a low. But the Aussie, when it's been putting in its low, and it had a month up last month, but still negative for the month, we've had a cross down on the MACD and the monthly, and we've got a lower top. I don't have a significant lower bottom at the moment. There was a minor low here, which is broken, but I don't have a significant low highlighted by these dots, but we've got a lower top. And I'm expecting maybe that because we had a negative, we had an up month and we were negative for the month. So at the moment we're trading up within the month before. I'm just maybe expecting this might come up to resistance, this old monthly area here, 74.14. So the weekly chart at the moment is higher bottom, sorry, higher top, higher bottom. This might be starting to want to cross up at the moment. So there's a little bit of an uptrend there going against the potential monthly downtrend. And we're trading back up within the candle of last month. Daily, had a rejection candle yesterday. This is in an uptrend on the daily. I've got this level of this monthly level marked in. And you can see it was support here, went below it, became resistance, came down, went above for a while. This candle here rejected it. That's why I've still got it on my charts and came back down. So 74.14, it's approximately the 7400 level as well. I'm saying this is last month's candle. It's going to draw that area in as a candle from that high to that low. So what I'm doing is I'm putting a fib across that candle's range because we're just trading up within the range of last month's candle. And you can see that we did yesterday, well, yesterday and the day before, we kind of traded above that level and rejected it. Some of these wicks on the candle tops rejecting the 62% level. And today we're kind of holding at the 62 level. We'll just move it down the 4-hour chart. On the 4-hour chart, whilst it's a little bit consolidatory, we did put in a little lower bottom yesterday, just changing the trend to down. In fact, that was today. Earlier today, we put that little low in, MACD's crossed down. So at the 62% level of the monthly range, we're just changing this little bit of a trend on the 4-hour chart. Now, if we move to the 15-minute chart, this is that 4-hour move down to a lower bottom. And we're just price cycling back up from that move down. We're a little bit short of. There's two 62% levels. That's from the monthly level, 73.60, and that's the 4-hour level at 73.63. So you can see we've moved into that area and we're just getting a bit of weakness on the 15-minute chart. Now, if you thought that was a good area for a rally before moving down, then you could just look for a trend line break to trade down from that area. For me at the moment, I'm going to wait till the US news passes before I'm going to do anything. But what I'm seeing is that, let me just get rid of that fib once more, the 4-hour trend's turned down. So it's moving down to a lower bottom. It's moving up to that 62% area I just showed you. If that was to hold, I'd have the anticipation that it's going to put a move. Sorry, using the wrong tool, get my line. That it's going to put a lower top in and move down. And as it moves down, if that's what it does, have another rally and then move down once more. So I'm looking for it to put in a lower top here. And then once it does that, another 4-hour trend's back to down. And I'm trying to trade in line with what I'm seeing on the monthly chart, which is a downtrend. Now, if the news is positive tonight, this could have a stab up at the 74 level. So that's 74.14 resistance area from the monthly and the 79% area up here. So whilst we've got a negative 4-hour chart look at the moment, news could make a difference to the time frame and we could have a stab up to this level as well. So just waiting till the news passes. Are we still then failing at the 62% level here, or do we go up deeper? All right, so watching a couple of levels is the area that we're in right now and the area further up, depending on what the news does. So back to my 15-minute chart, I'll just put that fib back in and I'm monitoring. I'm just seeing whether we can fail a couple of 62% levels here, whether we can fail here or do we move further up post-news. All right, Euro Yen. Last week, if you're in the webinar, I was looking at this range that I've got drawn in on the day chart. Now you can see that we popped above, but often when we get a big move and we pop above, we live above it for a couple of days and then we pop back below. So I'm not 100% convinced yet that this is a full move above. That candle there just closed above, only fractionally. Yesterday we put in a spinning top, which is a kind of a reversal candle. A very small range candle as well. I know we're positive at the moment, but if this is going to continue up and start to give us some convincing analysis that this is wanting to move further up, maybe up to the top of the range here, then what I'd like to see, and I'm going to move this down to the 4-hour chart. 4-hour charts, MACD is already crossing down, which is usually, see that cross there, usually precursor to quite a healthy pullback. So if the day chart trend is going to continue, this should still hold at 130.73. See how it topped, pulled back, held on that daily level and moved up, put in a higher bottom. Now, if we actually trade down and break that bottom, potentially then this is going to, well, time will tell. If it holds at 130.73, that's where you want to be a buyer on a setup to trade up. But I suspect if you break that low point there, this will slip back into the range. Then what you need to monitor is when it comes back up, can it move back above 130.73 or does 130.73 become resistance to trade down? So a couple of scenarios there. It can either pull back to this level, then look for an opportunity to be a buyer, trading up, or do the buyers give way there and the sellers take control and push it back below? Now, if it pushes back below and you get this scenario, potentially this could trade all the way back down to support. So in your day chart here, we could be back into that range. That could be a false move. So it must retain its support at 130.73 on any pullback. Now, if it doesn't pull back and it has a couple more days up and then has a bit of a pullback and that pullback's way ahead of 130.73, then I'm just looking on a lower time frame to be a buyer. But at the moment, I'm not convinced yet that 130.73 has been clearly broken above. And if you, as I went through at the start of the webinar, looking at all the yen pairs, they're all been strongly up. If, for example, that level is not going to hold, you're going to see all the yen pairs pulling back from the moves that they've had, and that'll be, quite an obvious story. So if you're seeing that, do you really want to be a buyer? Then you should be looking for opportunities to sell if we fall back below that area of support. All right. Euro dollar is a totally opposite look at the moment. Whilst we're seeing a bit of positivity during the intraday trading at the moment, the bigger picture, let me just take some of these lines off. Just going to keep in the major levels. Now, these lines that I've got on the chart at the moment, these are all from the monthly chart. So I'm going to go to the monthly chart. So we actually traded down below a monthly low here at 117.04, at 116.03. We've broken below that level, and we're trading down towards an old top at 114.95, almost 115. So a lot of these pairs at the moment, they're trading into support or resistance. Are they going to reverse back the other way, which they can often do? So we're trading at about 115. Where are we at? 115.54. So we're about 60 pips away from this potentially very strong level of support in the short term. Now, the MACD's crossed down on the monthly, and we're seeing lower tops and bottoms. So that is the trend, quite clearly down. And, you know, over many months, we may well break below this level of support, and we may well see price coming back down to, as you can see, there's strong support at the bottom, round about the 105. Let's call it about the 105. Let's use that low there, 106. Could go deeper. These lows are more like 105.50 area through here. But this is at 106 and we're trading at 115. So there's 1,000 pips potentially down the range there long term. Now that might take the best part of, I don't know, 12 months, half a year to 12 months, depending on what the market wants to do. But quite clear we're in a downtrend here. So trying to get yourself positioned for a break of maybe support would be the go. So the weekly trend is be showing you the minor double top here, downtrend. Now I did some analysis at the website, and what I've been looking for is a pull back up the range. There's a weekly level at 116.64. So trend on weekly is down, and then we break it down to the daily, and you can see these levels more clearly. This is quite a long move down. We may move back to the weekly. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're in the 6th negative week at the moment. This week hasn't finished, but it won't go down forever before it has a 1 or 2 weeks up. And so we're getting to the latter end of this current move. I'm hoping that we might have 1 or 2 weeks up. And if we have that, then I'm looking up here at 116.64 or 117.04, depending where price wants to pull back to, looking for opportunities to get in for the next long-term move down. So for me, the euro dollar isn't really an intraday trade at the moment for me. It's more of, can I get a good position for the long-term move? Because we've got a clear downtrend on the monthly chart. All right, breaking into the 4-hour. Still in a downtrend here. Lower tops and bottoms. Notably, the MACD is showing a bit of positive divergence. So we might be putting in a short-term bottom here at the moment. Lower low in price. Or lower low in price to that low. Both that low's the final low, so it's lower than any of them. So there's a bit of positive divergence. That doesn't mean to say we're going to get a massive reversal. We may only want to trade up to the first monthly support low that got broken at 16.03. So I'm just looking for some move up to a clear level of known resistance. Does it fail? Then we can trade down back in line with the big dominant trend. 15-minute chart at the moment. Just seeing if I think we're in an area that I like or not to trade down from. Still getting some support here at the moment. Probably going to move up higher before the news. Up here where we got today's rejected high, and we're in the red zone of the pivot points. Quite clear the trend is down the daily and the weekly and the monthly. So the key would be to always look to sell a rally, and it's always nice to sell a rally if price is very much stretched. So up here at today's projected high, into the red zone of the pivot points up there. Depending on what price is doing after the news, if we meet the today's projected high and start to fail up here, that might be a very good area to look for an opportunity to sell down from, where price becomes stretched. All right, getting into pound yen. Now, many weeks ago, this is the monthly chart. Just putting this top in at 156.598. We failed up there, and the long-term monthly picture here is that there's a, hopefully you can see there, a very long-term large range. Now, yes, this month at the moment, got a very positive candle going up there, and we could well move through the top of the range, But if we get to the top of that range, you need to know it's a very significant level of resistance. See our price hung for many months here and it had a massive collapse below. Came up, became resistance. The market will know that's resistance when it gets there. So expect a reversal first of all. As we're getting up to that level, if we're going to break through that level, you want to either be a buy before we break, and you may have already missed the opportunity to be a buyer. So at the moment, as we move down the time frames, you can see the weekly trend is up, but there's not long to go before we get up to that resistance level. And we've also got weekly resistance up here at 156.072. So the weekly trend is up, heading back up to that level of resistance. And really on the weekly, whilst the trend is up at the moment, what I can see is if I just average in these lows, we've got support here, resistance up here. So the question is, are we just going to stay in this kind of long-term range? And this is just to show you how long we can be in a range. This is late February here, where we moved into the area. So the best part of 8 months we've been in this area, just getting support, trading down from resistance. So the first thing is, what is it going to do up here? For me, if I wanted to be in a good trade up, I'd probably miss the boat. Day chart, like all the other yen pairs, this is just a countless days up and it's getting very long in its move. And if you draw a fib across the range, the weekly range, then you'll see that just a little bit over the 79% level. So I often use the 79% level as a level of resistance. We're a little bit above it. Look at the last two candles though. Not today, because today hasn't finished. The last two candles, Monday we held, Tuesday we traded above, back below. Today, yes, we are above. Now, if we close above today, I can't really say that the 79% area is holding any kind of resistance or making resistance for the market. However, if we do close back below it, then quite clearly traders are trading at the 79% level. Move down to your 4-hour chart. Same as all the other yen pairs, we've got a 4-hour cross down on the MACD, which is often the precursor to a pullback. So, and we're just dodging around the 79% level. Now, if I was going to sell up here against the daily and weekly trend, I know we're in a longer term range, and this could be where we're topping out in that range. I'd need to see a 4-hour chart change of trend, like I showed you before. Price moving down to a lower point, like I showed you on the Aussie dollar, and then having a rally up, putting in a lower top. Trade down. Now, I don't know if price is going to hold at this level to trade down. I may have to be a little bit more patient and see what price wants to do at the top of the range here. For me, up at the top of the range, the weekly top here is at 156.10, like the 156 figure number. The monthly levels at 156.59 is, I'd really like to just be patient and see what price is up here, because if it holds up here, this could hold here at the 156 area and then trade all the way back down to the 149 level. So it's a 700 pip range. So that would be a great trade to trade down and make 700 pips. So this is, me being patient, just watching to see what it wants to do up at that level. So I might have to wait a few days just to see what price wants to do. I might change my mind and want to be a buyer to trade up to the top of the range, but at the moment, all the yen pairs are all very stretched. And so I'm thinking from experience of how I've seen price done its thing before, it might want to pull back. From a buyer's perspective, if you want to be a buyer, this is moving up. Maybe this will pull back to, first of all these old tops across here. or a deeper pullback to that last broken top. And then from there, want to reassert the uptrend to trade up to the top. And then up there, you're looking for the opportunity to sell. So we're just going to wait and see what price wants to do. I suspect at the moment, just looking at the 4-hour chart, it's just getting a bit weak. And we may see, it's putting in a higher top up here just today. MACD is not putting in a higher top, so it's potentially showing a little bit of negative divergence there. I'm going to move it down to the 1-hour chart, and the 1-hour chart is showing some negative divergence too. Showed some yesterday. Still showing some at the moment. This is a higher top, but the indicator is not making a higher top either. So we're getting into an area where price is moving up, but the indicator is not moving up in the same way. So just getting a sense that we're maybe topping out up there. So you can monitor that. First thing I want to see if we are topping out is a 4-hour chart trend turns down. So can we break a low, rally, and then move down? All right, pound dollar. Now I did some analysis on the website this week, and you can catch the video if you go to the website. Let's go to the weekly chart. In fact, we'll go to the monthly chart because these lines are for the month. Well, there's 2 lines here. Just want to go to the monthly chart so you can see where I'm getting these lines. There's some old tops here, monthly old tops the market's traded into. And I'll put my lines of support across those tops. The MACD might want to be crossing down, so that's negative. And like the pound yen, see how we're holding at resistance, major resistance up here. We could be trading through the course of the next 12 months all the way down to the bottom of the range here. So the weekly at the moment. So this top, 134.82 and 135.14. Last month, a couple of weeks ago, we traded down through those tops, got some support and bounced back up. It's bouncing back up to this weekly level of resistance here at 136.69. We've tested it Monday and we've been trading down from it. Now, a couple of levels that I'm watching. Yes, this level it's bounced from, but this is the range of last month. We traded down for most of the month and we're just price cycling back up through the course of this month. We failed at the 50% level, and a daily level I'm watching is 136.09. We're above that level at the moment. Yesterday that was kind of acting as resistance, but today we're above it for the moment by what? I don't know, 15 pips. And another level I'm watching is further up here at 137.26. Now, I know that's miles away at the moment, but I'm just planning ahead. We're on the 13th day of the month. Got my fib drawn across last month's range. I'm assessing where would I want to be a seller to get back in line with the downtrend through the course of the month. Now, if we break back below 136.09, move this to the 4-hour chart for you. So 136.09 from this area here. If we're to break back below there and that becomes resistance once more, I'll be looking to trade down from about the 136 level on a setup. If we move further up, then that 137.26 level, which lines up with the 62% level of the monthly range. It also lines up with lots of old resistance and support on the 4-hour chart. I'll be watching that deeper level to trade down from as well. So at the moment, the closest level I want to see fail is the 136.09 level. The top that we put in this week, we are seeing a little bit of negative divergence as we were trying to make a higher move up into that 136.69 resistance area. So maybe we've already put in this week's high and we're just bouncing around at the moment waiting for the news to come out. So we can break back below 136.09. That's that 136.09 level. There's the 13600 level. I'd just like to see price come back down here. That area become resistance. And then look for an opportunity in that area to trade down. Now, at the moment, seeing a bit of weakness at the moment. Maybe if you want to be aggressive, you could be getting in, looking for an opportunity to trade down on a trend line break, MACD cross. We're a little bit short, just got a little bit short of the red area and the pivots. We are breaking a trend line here. Don't have a MACD cross at the moment. If there's anything problematic, you'd have to be trading this based on the idea that you thought this 136.09 area, which has been acting as support today, is going to break. Because if you took a trade, whenever that MACD cross comes in, you've got very little room before you're trading into support. That's why I'd much prefer to see a clean breakdown. Rally back up, that holds, and then you're trading down on a failure. So I'm not keen on trading into a level. That 136.09 level has been acting as support and resistance over a number of days. And at the moment, we've been getting some support from it today through here. See on, so this is Wednesday, Tuesday, this is Monday. See Monday, we broke below, became resistance, traded down, became resistance, traded down. Then we went above, then we came back below, then we're back above. So I just like to see it, want to get back below again. Does it become resistance and then trade down with the trend? I'm not going to trade into that level. All right. Last two pairs I want to go through. In fact, time's getting away from me. I just want to cover the New Zealand yen because it's one of the yen crosses. And this is my daily chart. And it's at an area like many of the yen pairs. It's back up to some form of resistance. Let me just take my lines off. I'm on the weekly chart here. Now these dots, they clearly show you where resistance is. There's an area over here at 78.86, an old one. When we came up and revisited that area, we put in some new tops slightly higher, but basically staying at the same level. Price is coming up at the moment. So the more recent tops, these ones here, I'm going to use that one just there to 79.137. So that's a fraction over the 7,900 figure where it failed earlier in the year. Yes, we did trade above that for a bit of time. Then we moved back below, try to revisit, a bit short of, moved below. And we're on an uptrend here, higher top, higher bottom, but we're trading straight into resistance. Like a lot of these yen pairs getting into a resistance area. So the question is, are we going to move through on all these yen pairs, or if we're seeing all of them holding at resistance and start to trade down, well, I think we could be at a key level for a strong reversal down if the levels hold. So if you're seeing the levels hold in all the yen pairs, that's critical because you're seeing a confluence of events across multiple pairs that are highly correlated. So day chart, it's in an uptrend. Yes, last 3 or 4 days we've been moving up. Yesterday, we kind of rejected that area just short. See the wicks on the last 2 candles, tops. We're not closing on the tops. We're trading up, but then the sellers are pushing it back down. So watch the area of 79.13. Yesterday, we got up to 79.07. Today, we've been only up to the figure. So maybe this is putting in the high of the day already. And, we'll end up with another shadow at the top. So the critical level, if this uptrend is going to keep in play, I'm going to use this top, with a top there and a slightly lower top here. I'm going to use that slightly lower top at 78.634. Because that's the last top formed in that area, is we need to hold above that level if this market's going to continue up. So if we move back below 78.63, which is only 20 pips away, something like that. We've had some support in that area today, and we've moved up. Again, another cross down the MACD. We're seeing this on all the 4-hour charts on the yen pairs, is if we see a lower top come in, I'm looking for lower top coming in, maybe at that area of resistance, to trade down, back down to the bottom of the range down here. So the bottom of the range is 76.32. There's 3 lows there, so could come to the first low at 76.65, but trading down to where support was. I'll put in the lowest one at the moment, 76.329. So if it does fail, we'll look for price to trade back down the range. If we break above 79.13, to be a buyer, if you're not already in the market, so that's what we need to do if we want to be a seller. We need to hit a breakdown, hold support, or the new support that should be becomes resistance. If you're not already a buyer and you're not already in, you didn't get in down here somewhere and you're looking to take profits or waiting to see if it can break through, don't buy into resistance. You'll get quite clearly on the 4-hour chart, need to see price push up, pull back, the area becomes support, and it want to move up off the area. Bearing in mind that if it does continue up, your next level of major resistance is at 81.78. Don't be buying at that level. Okay, so we may well see strength continue. If it does, break above, pull back, trade up, look to take profits at 80.17. Maybe at 80.70 you might see a good opportunity to sell down, but we have to get there first. At the moment though, looking at all these yen crosses, they're just giving kind of a suggestion that in the short term anyway, we may be overextended. They're all at some kind of easily identifiable resistance points, and just looking maybe for the 4-hour chart trend to turn down, and then look for an opportunity to sell a rally or move down in the short term. All right. So just going back to the news before we conclude. Market probably won't do too much until 10:30 Queensland time, my time tonight, when we get the US CPI. And then we'll know whether on those yen pairs resistance is holding, and are we wanting to start to move down because of whatever news comes out. 4 o'clock this morning, got the FOMC meeting minutes. That's the interest rate meeting minutes. Does the verbiage of that change or not? If it doesn't really change, that won't affect the market too much. And then later into Thursday, the PPI news coming out, and into Friday, the retail sales. The market's looking at these news items at the moment because if the news is positive or negative, it's going to have an effect on what the FOMC is going to be doing in terms of interest rates in the future, and it's tailoring back of its quantitative easing as we're progressing through to the end of the year. So the market is keenly looking at news items at the moment, and it'll be a big driver of what price action wants to do. All right, I just want to go back to the pound dollar, just see what it's doing. It hasn't broken below that level of support. So this is a pair that I'm definitely keenly watching out of a lot of the pairs. And I want to see it break back below 136.09. Can that be resistance? Can I see a good opportunity to sell on a tight trend line break close to the 136 area? I'm also keenly watching this New Zealand yen. If I put a fib across this New Zealand yen just to finish up, you'll also see that the move up at the moment is at the 79% level. Very close to this resistance area that was formed on a weekly chart. It's just a very good area. This could fail here if it moves back below this level of support, 78.63. Even though I said the first level of big supports here, this could be moving all the way down. If it fails at the 79% level, it could move all the way down there over the course of weeks or months. So this is a very good area if it starts to fail to look for a long-term trade down. So I'm watching that one as well quite keenly, but it needs to give me a clear signal. And when we do the analysis next week, all we might find is that we might be still in the same area. Or we may have just started to break below support, but a good trading opportunity hasn't quite come together, but we can revisit it. All right. Okay, everybody, I think I'm going to conclude there. If you've got any questions before I leave, now's a good time to ask me a question. Coming up tomorrow, let's go back to my browser. Coming up tomorrow, I'm going to go through the trade setup called the swing point break. So if you haven't seen that before, then we'll be going through that. As we go through into next week, we've got the last webinar of the webinar series on Tuesday. And then the 5 webinars after that are all going to be live market analysis. So we'll have a good look at using the tools taught in the webinars in the live market for about 5 webinars, and then I'm going to restart the webinar series again. So the webinar series, if we just check the calendar for myself, starts, the new webinar series will start, if my memory serves me right, on the 2nd of November. So we'll be concluding it next week. Then we'll have some live market analysis for a few webinars. So if you haven't started at the beginning, Tuesday, the 2nd of November is when we'll restart the webinar series. All right, everybody, thanks very much for attending. I'm not seeing any questions coming in. So thanks very much for attending. Hopefully you got some good information and some good levels there that you can be monitoring. Whether you're trading one of my strategies or your own strategy, I'm sure the levels I've discussed today and the way the trends are working, you'll be able to apply that to your own strategy. So stay safe, good luck out there, and look forward to seeing you at the next webinar, which is tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock Sydney time. All right, have a great evening. Thanks very much.